Hello, bonjour and welcome to your new Bonheur Private Wines video. We're only a couple of weeks away from what must be one of the most pleasurable moments on the year's calendar, especially for wine lovers, a celebration of love and affection, the perfect occasion to enjoy a romantic dinner with your significant other. And if you ask me, what better way to enhance the experience with the perfect bottles of wine. And here I don't mean to give you a lecture on which wines you should absolutely have to respect the wine etiquette, as so many articles do, but rather I want to give you a palette, a spectrum, a variety of options, so you can find one or two ideas at least that clicks in your imagination and make you say, this is the wine that I want, and I think my partner will enjoy it as well. I absolutely want this. Good idea, Julian. Let's go and explain. In a minute or two, I want to give you an absolutely gorgeous multi-course menu for the most memorable Valentine's Day dinner that you've ever dreamed of. So stay tuned for that. It's going to make us salivate, I'm sure. But first, let's go through some of the best wines that you can consider for Valentine's Day in each style, whether you and your loved one prefer the red whites, the rosés, the white wines, even the sparklings or sweets, etc. For whites, if you want to stick with the classics, of course, there's nothing wrong about that. Go with a Chardonnay. You can't go wrong with a Chardonnay, but something less conventional, clearly I'd consider, is a Sauvignon Blanc, as it's both fresher in style, more zingy and acidic on your palate, also fruitier, crisp and grassy, so it's way more likely to surprise and tease your senses. With the same approach, Riesling is to be considered as well, because it's crisp and it's also very fruity, and it comes in a variety of sweetness levels to choose from bone dry to off dry, and even some are a little sweet. Now, if you're feeling more adventurous and up for a discovery, go for a Vinho Verde from Portugal. That's a very light and somewhat watery style, but super refreshing, so it's a nice for the starters, delicately fruity and a tiny bit sweet. For a bolder dry style with heap of personality and an oily mouth-coasting texture, a Spanish Albarino. Absolutely delicious and quite unknown. Also deemed a fruit bomb in the form of a dry muscat. For red wines, I think Pinot Noir is the absolute contender here, lighter in style than most other reds, but always very fruity and approachable, yet dry and velvety, super versatile too with various foods, so it's perfect, it's hard to beat. Where you can be adventurous here is going off the beaten track, leave the US West Coast Pinot aside, even though they're absolutely delicious, of course, but you can go with a nice Burgundy red from France. It could be a little more austere and more acidic, crisper and more refined in style with food, especially it goes particularly well. Now, the perfect compromise would be a New Zealand Pinot Noir, like from Central Otago. Those are explosive fruit bomb of Pinot Noir, yet really crisp, and probably my number one recommendation here to remember. European alternatives could be a French Beaujolais red made from the Gamay grapes. There's this village that is called Saint-Amour, which means Saint Love, if you wish, in French. So that's a really great classic for us for Valentine's Day here in France. Many people like to have this one because of the name, but also because it's got this similar satisfying fruit-driven style as Pinot Noir. and it's a bit different, and it's delicious. Saint-Amour. Now, if your partner has a sweet tooth when it comes to wine, there are two suggestions that make me salivate just thinking about them. First is Sauternes. This is a French sweet wine from the Bordeaux region, just south of Bordeaux, that is known for really complex flavors of apricot, honey and peach. But it's also profound and complex because it's made from grapes that are shriveled by noble rot, which is a rare ancient process for making intricate sweet wines. If you've never tried one, try it, it's superb. It pairs well with foie gras, for example, or blue cheese. Then there's always a safe choice when it comes to sweet wine, that is Moscato d'Asti, this Italian sparkling that is really light in alcohol, sweet and fizzy, with some bursting fruit flavors of fresh grapes and stone fruits. Always a crowd pleaser for those who don't like austere wines, but much prefer those that taste more like fruit juice. It's perfect with desserts or as an aperitif. And beyond Moscato, I'll go short on sparkling wines as everything's been written and said about them for Valentine's Day before me, but my 2-cent perspective on it, my take: if you want French champagne, try to find a Blanc de Noir if you can. Those are made from red grapes from Champagne, often Pinot Noir, so they're a bit fruitier in style and softer, so very, very pleasing if you don't want something too sophisticated. If you go with an Italian Prosecco, which many do, very popular style, try to find a higher appellation one like a Conegliano Valdobbiadene or Asolo or Treviso, as those are finer expressions and, more importantly, that are made with more care by the producers. If you want to go outside of these beaten tracks, I'd recommend investing in a high-end Spanish cava, if you can find one, as you can often find a carefully crafted top cuvée for the price of a low to mid-range champagne. So it's always a fantastic option. You have to investigate and dig a little deeper, but it's always a good option. Or if you want something Italian, and if you want to find the real alternative to French champagne from Italy, Franciacorta, those are real bottle fermented alternatives to champagne, really, really well crafted, while Prosecco is a bit more of an industrial winemaking process. Franciacorta is very fine and super interesting. And as promised, here is the perfect dream menu for your romantic Valentine's Day dinner. Not that you need to cook all of these dishes. We would all absolutely love if our other half would make all of this for us, but perhaps at least you can find a few interesting wine and food pairing ideas in what follows. So course number 1, how many courses do you think we're gonna make here? Remember, I'm French, so let's find out. Course number 1 is titled, of course, apéritif. Assorted canapés of smoked salmon, fish eggs and or foie gras on toast with a glass of champagne or one of the above mentioned sparklings to start the evening on a bubbly note. Course number 2, the entree. Simple seared scallops, there's no need to make anything complicated, with a lemon butter sauce paired with a light and crisp Marlborough Kiwi Sauvignon Blanc. Course number 3, the soup. Yes, a creamy lobster bisque served in a verrine, those small little glasses. We don't need much of it, just a burst of intense flavors to accompany with either a rich and creamy Chardonnay or a Spanish Albarino. Course number 4, hors d'oeuvre, or the salad, let's say. Arugula salad with some goat cheese and a bit of pears and walnuts on a glass of fruity rosé. I didn't mention rosé or suggest any before, as I don't really have any suggestions other than the one you like. They're all appropriate for Valentine's Day, I think, if only for their color. Course number 5, the pièce de résistance, the main course. Beef Wellington with roasted potatoes and asparagus on a full-bodied Bordeaux red, or an extreme altitude Malbec from Argentina, or a fruity Pinot Noir from Burgundy or New Zealand for a lighter choice. Course number 6, fromage, fine cheeses with a fig jam and some crackers or a baguette bread, with that sweet sauterne that I was telling you about, or a bold Shiraz red, if you want a red that has really big shoulders. Course number 7, and we're not done yet, gâteau, or the dessert, the cake, a chocolate fondant with raspberry coulis paired with a sweet and slightly sparkling Moscato d'Asti, of course. And to finish, let's call it course number 8, the digestif, some macaron with coffee and a glass of vintage port. How does that sound? Make sure to drink half a glass of sparkling water between each of these courses and glasses of wine. It's going to be better for you. Have fun, bon appétit, and enjoy, and I will see you soon in the wonderful world of wine. Cheers!